Hello everyone, welcome back to English Horizons, the podcast where you broaden your English skills one topic at a time. I'm Violet.
And I'm James. Today's episode is all about travel. We're going to dive into different aspects of travelling, planning a trip, exploring new cultures, dealing with travel challenges, and so much more. So, whether you're a seasoned traveller or just dreaming of your next holiday, this episode is for you.
That's right. Not only will we be talking about travel, but we'll also share some essential English phrases and vocabulary to help you on your next adventure.
Let's start with a big question. Why do people love to travel? I think everyone has their own reasons.
Definitely. Travelling opens our eyes to new experiences, right? We get to see the world from different perspectives, try new foods, hear different languages, and honestly, there's something magical about that.
Absolutely. And it's more than just fun. Travel can actually be very educational. You learn about history, geography, and even art. And of course, if English isn't your first language, travelling gives you a chance to practice.
Speaking of practicing English, let's go over some vocabulary that can help while travelling. Ready, James?
Let's do it. Here are some basic terms. Itinerary. This is a detailed plan or schedule for your trip. Sightseeing. This means visiting famous or interesting places. Accommodation refers to where you stay, like a hotel, hostel, or Airbnb.
Another useful word is passport. You'll need one if you're going to another country. And customs, which refers to the check you go through at the border to enter a new country.
Great list. Let's use some of these words in sentences so our listeners can see them in context. Violet, want to give it a go?
Sure. Here's one. Our itinerary includes visiting 3 cities in Italy: Rome, Florence, and Venice. What about you, James?
All right, here's mine. After we landed, we went straight to our accommodation, a cosy little hotel near the beach. So you've decided to travel. How do you start planning a trip?
It can be a bit overwhelming. I think the first step is deciding where you want to go and why. Are you looking for a relaxing holiday, or do you want to explore somewhere new and exciting?
Right, and once you know your destination, it's time to book flights and accommodation. Here's a tip, try to book in advance. You'll often get better deals that way.
Absolutely. And here's another tip, make a checklist. It sounds simple, but it can save you a lot of stress. Write down things you need to pack, documents to bring, and anything you need to do before you leave.
Speaking of packing, how do you decide what to bring, Violet?
Good question. I always check the weather first. I also try to pack light, just the essentials. Plus, you need some space in your suitcase for souvenirs. And that brings us to something super helpful for anyone travelling to an English-speaking country. Phrases you can use on the go. Imagine you're at an airport or a hotel.
Great idea. Here are a few. Can I have a window seat, please? Useful when you're choosing your seat on the plane. Could I have the bill, please? Perfect for asking for the bill at a restaurant. Do you have any recommendations? This is handy when you want to know the best places to visit or eat.
Let's add a few more. If you're lost, you can ask, could you help me find this place? Or if you need more time, you can say, I need a few more minutes, please.
These are super useful. Let's role-play a quick scenario. I'll be a hotel guest and you're the receptionist. Ready?
Sure. Good evening. How can I help you?
Hello. I have a reservation under the name James Ellis.
Of course, Mr. Ellis. Could I see your passport, please?
So, travel is fun, but it's not always smooth sailing. Sometimes things go wrong. Have you ever had any travel mishaps, Violet?
Oh, plenty. Once my luggage got lost and I was in a new city without any clothes or essentials. It taught me to pack a few important items in my hand luggage.
Good tip. And it's also helpful to know some polite ways to handle these situations. For example, if you need help, you could say, "Excuse me, I have a problem with my luggage. Could you help me?"
And remember to stay calm. People are usually willing to help if you're polite. Another big part of travel is understanding cultural differences. What might be polite in one country could be rude in another.
That's a great point. For example, in some cultures, it's polite to take off your shoes before entering someone's home, while in others, it's not expected.
Or how about tipping? In some countries, tipping is essential, while in others, it can be considered offensive.
Right, so it's always good to do a bit of research on etiquette before you go.
And one of the best parts of travel, of course, is the food. Trying local cuisine can be an adventure on its own. Do you have any memorable food experiences from your travels, James?
Oh, absolutely. I remember trying street food in Bangkok. I was a bit nervous at first, but it ended up being some of the best food I've ever had. The flavours were so unique and fresh.
That sounds amazing. I love how food can tell you so much about a place. In Italy, for example, it's all about simplicity and freshness, while in India, the dishes are rich in spices and flavours. Each culture has its own food traditions.
And it's also a great way to connect with locals. Asking for recommendations can lead to some great conversations. Plus, you get to learn some useful dining phrases like, "Could I see the menu, please?" Or, "What do you recommend?"
Yes, and if you have dietary restrictions, it's helpful to learn how to explain them in English. For example, I'm vegetarian or I have a nut allergy. This can really make dining abroad a lot easier.
Great point. And don't forget to embrace the experience. Sometimes the best meals are the ones you don't plan, just going with the flow and trying whatever looks good.
Absolutely. Food can be such a highlight of travelling. So, listeners, next time you travel, don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and try something new. Who knows, it might be your new favourite dish. And speaking of travel dreams, let's talk dream destinations. If you could go anywhere in the world right now, where would you go, James?
That's tough, but I'd say Japan. I've always wanted to explore the culture, see the cherry blossoms and experience the food. There's something so intriguing about the mix of ancient temples and ultra-modern cities.
Japan sounds amazing. I've heard the landscapes are breathtaking too. And the idea of riding the Shinkansen or bullet train to see as much as possible. I can see why it's at the top of your list.
Exactly. Plus, the food would be an adventure on its own. Sushi, ramen, okonomiyaki. I'd be in heaven. What about you, Violet?
I'd go to New Zealand. The landscapes are just stunning and there's so much adventure, hiking, bungee jumping. It's a dream for anyone who loves the outdoors. And I think I'd like to explore Maori culture as well.
New Zealand is an adventurer's paradise. There's something for everyone, from the beaches to the mountains, and the people are supposed to be incredibly friendly.
Exactly. I'd love to visit Hobbiton too, from the Lord of the Rings films. The idea of walking through those green hills and small cosy homes, what a magical experience. And that's the fun of dream destinations. You can imagine yourself doing things that seem almost unreal.
So true, and it's also a reminder to our listeners that travel is as much about dreaming and planning as it is about actually going. Sometimes, just picturing yourself in your dream destination can make your day a bit brighter.
Absolutely. And if you're listening, take a moment to think about your dream destination. Maybe you see yourself exploring a bustling city, relaxing on a quiet beach, or hiking through mountains. Visualize it, and who knows? One day, you might be there.
And here's a fun thought. If you had to choose just one item to take to your dream destination, what would it be?
Ooh, good question. I'd probably take my camera. I'd want to capture every view and memory, even the small details. How about you?
I think I'd take a journal. There's something about jotting down your thoughts as you travel. The people you meet, the food, the sights. You can look back and relive each day, even years later.
That's beautiful, James. So, listeners, if you're imagining your dream destination, think about what one thing you'd take with you. It's amazing how something so simple can make the experience even more special.
To wrap up, we have some final tips for our listeners.
Yes, here's one. Try to learn a few words in the local language. Even a simple hello or thank you can go a long way.
And if you're travelling to an English-speaking country, don't worry if you're not perfect at English. Most people will appreciate your effort and will try to help.
That's a great reminder, James. And remember, travel is about exploring and having fun.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you learned some useful travel tips and English phrases.
Yes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please like our video, subscribe to our channel and share your favourite travel destination in the comments.
Until next time, happy travels and keep exploring your English horizons.